All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the May 20th, 2025 Landmark Preservation Commission meeting. We'll begin with introductions of the commissioners. My name is Erica Warzel. I'm an architectural historian and preservation consultant nominated by the community at large. Chris.
Yeah, my name is Christopher McGinnis. I'm a forensic architect and I was nominated by the mayor's office.
I'm Rusty Brown. I'm an architect and was nominated by AIA.
I'm Larry Sykes. I'm an architect nominated by History Colorado.
I'm Emily Hazen, a designer and preservationist nominated by City Planning.
And I'm Brittany Bryant, Denver Landmark Preservation staff.
Great. Before we begin with our agenda for today, I'll go over some audio tips for those of you joining us virtually. For better sound quality, we strongly encourage you to download Zoom on your desktop or other device. And from there, you can click audio settings to bring up an additional menu, such as adding background noise suppression and testing your speaker and microphone to adjust their maximum output volumes. Those of you presenting or giving public comment, when it is your turn to speak, to mute or unmute, click on the microphone icon at the bottom of your screen. You can also expand the menu next to the microphone to reveal additional options, such as testing your speaker and microphone and adjusting their volumes. If you still have audio challenges, we suggest you switch to phone for audio. We have one meeting record, the May 6th, 2025. I've been reminded that we actually don't have to vote on approving it, but do any commissioners have any corrections or comments they'd like to make about that meeting record? Okay, then I think it's good to go. We will then move on to our consent agenda. Our public comments period. So this is the time of our meeting where we welcome members of the public to comment about historic preservation in general in the city, or on any of our design review agenda, business, or discussion items. Whatever project or topic you'd like to discuss or comment on, you have up to 2 minutes. Just a note that at the time of our design review agenda items, we will not be accepting public comments at that time. So if you want to discuss something that's later on at our agenda, except for our public hearing, this is the time to speak. During our public hearing item, if you'd like to make a comment, you will have up to 3 minutes on that particular item. So if you're joining us virtually, we ask that you raise your hand by clicking the hand raise button in Zoom, or you can dial *9 on your keypad to raise your hand if you're joining by phone. If you're having any difficulty with that, you can email landmark@denvergov.org and provide your name and phone number so that we know who you are and that you're having difficulty with those options. We also have a few folks here in person. So I think we'll begin with them to see if any of them would like to make a comment at this time.
I'm a public adjuster representing a client on Race Street, just off of the park.
One of our design review.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
historical district house. So the issue we're trying to.
Actually, if you could come up to the table here.
And if you're an applicant,
Yeah.
you'll get to speak during the applicant presentation.
Because I know the contractor made the appointment, so he's not here yet. So I think I'm not sure if we were an applicant or just a public comment.
I suspect applicants.
I would suspect applicant too, but Andrew just stepped out.
Maybe, so if you could pause for a moment, we'll have our other commenter here in person comment. And then we'll kind of circle back to you and make sure it's either the time for you now or later on
Okay.
as part of the applicant team.
Thank you.
Yes. Jeff, would you like to, John, sorry.
That's all right, everyone calls me Jeff.
I don't know. I think it's part of your last name.
My Instagram is literally it's John or Jeff. Am I good?
Yes, please begin with your name and then you have up to 2 minutes.
Great, okay, thank you so much. My name is John Deffenbaugh, CEO of Historic Denver, and I'm here to talk to you about our old friends 1600 and 1618 East Colfax. It did cross my mind to return to you shortly after this group voted to support the applicant's economic hardship case last year, but it really felt somewhat irrelevant because the case had been closed and the fate was sealed. And then I see on the agenda that they're back on here today as a dangerous building, which potentially allows the developer to demolish those buildings without going through the LPC process of providing you with a replacement plan. And I just thought, well, here we go again. Yet again, bad behavior is potentially going to be rewarded through the destruction of these buildings without a replacement plan. That's disingenuous to the community, it's disingenuous to preservation, and it's also wholly predictable. I remember the last meeting, there was a comment that, we can't see intentionality here. And if you can't see intentionality, I really do wonder what you can see, because the significance of these buildings hasn't changed. They've been documented, they've been historic for a very, very long time. What has changed is the condition of these buildings, the way they've been allowed to deteriorate whilst on the neglected and derelict buildings list. And Brittany's coming towards me.
I'm just gonna turn your camera on.
Oh, okay.
Keep going.
Whilst on the neglected and derelict buildings list. And before I came here, I did look up the definition of neglect. And it talks about the failure to secure, the failure to adequately care for. And it does seem to me, I'm not a lawyer, but there does seem to me to be a connection there. Failure towards intentionality. Again, first of all, economic hardship bypasses the system, allows the buildings to be demolished. And then now yet again, failure to secure the buildings almost 6 months later, allowing them to be demolished even more prematurely. It's so predictable, and here we are again.
Thank you, John. Since the other gentleman stepped out for a moment, do we have any one joining us virtually who would like to make a public comment at this time?
I'm pretty sure he's with the applicant team, but just having Andrew double check right now.
Okay. All right, so maybe we'll pause just for a minute.
We're gonna move on then. We're good to move on.
Okay, thanks everyone for your patience. We're ready to move on to our consent agenda. So the consent agenda are routine design items, review items that are recommended for commission approval without discussion. Applicants that have their projects passed on the consent agenda should coordinate separately with your landmark preservation staff to receive a certificate of appropriateness. There is no public comment for consent agenda items. So first I'll announce the consent agenda by address and then ask if commissioners have any desire to remove an item from the consent agenda and shift it to our regular design review agenda items later on in the meeting. Commission members will also have an opportunity to announce any ex parte contacts or conflicts of interest. Then we'll have a motion and vote. And then again, if your project is approved on the consent agenda, you're welcome to leave the meeting, or you may stay with us and listen in on the rest of it. So our consent agenda items are application number 2025-COA-354 at 740 North Clayton Street. Number 2023-COA-414 at 3386 West Hayward Place. 2025-COA-318 at 2841 North Perry Street. 2025-COA-275 at 1245 North York Street. And finally, 2025-TAXC-010 at 2827 Champa Street. Commissioners, are there, do you have any questions or any desire to remove any of these items to our regular design review? Any conflicts of interest or ex parte? Great. So we can entertain a motion. Someone like to do that?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Thank you, Chris. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Emily. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. So the consent agenda has been approved. And again, if these are one of your projects, you may feel free to leave the meeting or stay with us. We're getting an update. Great. On the computer, which we will.
This line, unfortunately.
Can we say, yeah, it just keeps going in the background.
Just X out of it.
It's beautiful. The problem is it might just start doing it in the middle of the meeting. Yeah. There's no reason to reset.
You should be able to X out of it.
Should just do it.
Okay, I think we'll continue on and hope that we are not interrupted again accidentally. So we do have one public hearing item on our agenda today. The public hearing process will proceed as such. I'll announce the agenda for the public hearing by address. And then at that time, commission members can announce any ex parte contexts or conflicts of interest. We'll then hear from preservation staff to introduce the application and their recommendation for up to 10 minutes, after which commissioners may question staff. We'll then hear from the applicant and their entire team for up to 10 minutes, after which commissioners may question the applicant. And then we'll open it up for public comment, which again, if you'd like to make a comment on this project, you will have up to 3 minutes to do so. We ask that you raise your hand by clicking the hand raise button. Again, if you're calling by phone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand. And if you're having any difficulty, you can email landmark@denvergov.org with your contact information. When you are called upon to make your public comment, we ask that you provide your name, and then you may begin speaking as to what you'd like to say about the project. Then we'll close the public hearing portion after we hear from any staff for any clarifications as needed. Then we'll move into deliberation for a motion and vote. Okay, so we have one item for a public hearing today. It's application 2025-LM Demo-094 at 3025 North Perry Street. And sorry, I can't remember which staff person we're hearing from. Brittany.
So our first application is for demolition of 60% or more of the roof structure at 3025 North Perry Street, which is a contributing, structure to the Wolf Place Historic District. Here you can see the home. It is a 1.5-story front facing gable, and here you can see on the map the location within the historic district. So this application is for demolition of 60% of the roof structure. In addition, the rear roof form is a hipped roof form. The applicant is proposing to demolish that, to reconstruct it to be a gable to accommodate the pop top addition that we'll review next. This is a scope the commission does review and approve often for these modifications for rear hipped roof into a gable form. Demolition is set back mostly 15 feet from the front facade. There is a bit of demolition scope involved for 2 skylights towards the front that will allow for egress from a bedroom. But generally, this does meet the design guidelines for Denver landmark structures and districts. Demolition is limited. This isn't a individual landmark property. It's just a contributing structure within a district. Demolition is set back from the front facade and will have minimal impact on the interpretation of the structure from the public right of way. So staff is recommending approval just with the condition that the replacement plan be approved prior to demolition.
Thank you, Brittany. I forgot to just clarify, no commissioners have conflicts of interest to announce. All right, I think we're then ready to hear from the applicants. Again, this is just for the demolition and not for the replacement or addition that will be next on our agenda. And Andrea is.
Hi there, this is Andrea. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Andrea, if you would please begin with your name, then you will have up to 10 minutes to talk about your project.
Okay, great. My name is Andrea Dart. And I think Brittany did a great job in summarizing the demo portion of our project. In that we're proposing to demo about 60% of the roof structure, with the demo area being focused towards the rear, so that the front facade and street presence and original historic character of the home is maintained. We're also intending on keeping the existing overhangs so that the complete outline of the existing roof structure is maintained. And otherwise, we can get into the rest of it once we start talking about the proposed project. So that's pretty much the extent of the demo work.
Okay, thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
I don't think we have any clarifications to make at this time. Yeah. If there's anyone here in person or online that would like to make a comment on this project, you may indicate to us now, raising your hand. Doesn't look like it. Okay, so I think I can close the public hearing. I didn't officially state the time when we started, but I think it was about 1:15. I'll close the hearing portion now at 1:19. And then I think we're ready to deliberate. Commissioners, do you have any thoughts?
I have maybe a silly question. Why is this one in public hearing and not design review?
Because demolition of 40% or more of exterior walls or roof structure requires a public hearing per our design guidelines. And we do post public notice on the property for that demolition request because the zoning code considers 40% total demolition.
40%.
Given the condition, I'm good with it.
The condition to approve the
Yeah.
replacement?
Do you have that, Brittany? Have you seen any of that plan?
It's
the
our
next
next
item.
agenda item.
Seems straightforward.
Would anyone like to make a motion then? No stupid questions.
Madam Chair, I move to approve with conditions application number 2025-LM demo 094 for the roof demolition at 3025 North Perry Street as per design guidelines 2.5 or 2.58, 2.60 character defining features for the Wolf Place Historic District. Presented testimony, submitted documentation and information provided in the staff report with the condition that a replacement plan for the roof structure be approved prior to demolition.
Thank you, Larry. Do we have a second? Second. Thank you, Emily. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the motion carries for conditional approval with a replacement plan to be approved. All right, we are ready to move on to our design review. This portion of the agenda proceeds fairly similarly to public hearing in that we will announce any ex parte contacts or conflicts of interest after announcing the design review agenda item. Then we'll hear from staff about the application and their recommendation with a limit of 10 minutes, after which commissioners may question staff. We'll then hear from the applicant team for up to 10 minutes, and then commissioners may question the applicant. If staff needs to provide any clarifications after that, we'll hear from them. And then we'll move into deliberation for a motion and vote. So our first design review item is related to our public hearing agenda item. This is application 2025-COA-347 at 3025 North Perry Street in the Wolf Place Historic District. I am assuming, since we didn't have any conflicts of interest, well, yeah, we're good on this. So we'll hear from Brittany about this project.
So our first project is for a pop top addition to 3025 North Perry Street in the Wolf Place Historic District. Again, this is a contributing structure. You can see the property here. It does sit up a little bit on a hill, but a 1.5 story nested gable plan. So as we just reviewed and approved, this application will involve demolition of 60% of the roof structure to accommodate a new pop top addition that is very minimal in profile and height. You can see the existing site plan and then the proposed site plan here on the screen. So work is limited to the roof structure. Here is just the proposed floor plan. So it will have a basement, first floor, and then you can see that new addition that will allow for a primary master bedroom, a flex space, a bedroom that will have egress from the skylights that is part of this project scope, and then a bathroom for the bedroom and flex space to share. So here is the front elevation of the home, and here is the proposed pop top addition. So the proposed pop top addition is limited in height and is no taller than the existing ridge line of the primary structure. It is designed to be somewhat dormer in nature while also accommodating additional floor plan in the attic, which is currently unused space. The proposed addition will be clad in cedar shingles, and then the reconstructed hipped roof that will be a gable will also be clad in cedar shingles with a new window, but very minimal alterations to the home are proposed other than to this rear hipped roof and to the roof structure to accommodate this addition. So staff did review this with the residential review team to confirm that this was not a dormer addition, and it is definitely a second floor addition because it's adding additional living space. And while there's no clear definition for dormers within Denver's building or zoning code, it does meet the qualification for addition. So we're treating this as a pop top addition. So the proposed pop top addition is set back 15 feet from the front facade per the guidelines when accommodating a new pop top addition. The guidelines also encourage looking at rear additions or side additions before exploring a pop top addition. This lot is very narrow, so there is not an opportunity for a side addition. And as you can see in the site plan, most of the lot space is already occupied with existing buildings. There isn't a lot of space to do a rear addition at the rear of this property. So staff do find that the addition does have minimal visual impact and is placed accordingly to the design guidelines. The applicant has also looked at compliance with the zoning code for this addition. And because this lot is so narrow, the addition will encroach onto the south side setback. The home does have an alley on the south side of the property, and due to the positioning on the lot, it's very close to the south side. So to accommodate the 15-foot pushback required by our design guidelines, Landmark staff did indicate that we would be supportive of this encroachment into the south side yard setback, also to create a symmetrical roof form for the proposed dormer, as you can see here. So apologies, our computer restarted. And that is updating at the moment. That is running our Zoom meeting. We could take a pause while this updates, or we can keep going. Which would you prefer? As the applicant is virtual.
Yeah, I think we should take a pause just so that the applicant has a chance to feel like they're settled and know what they're doing, so.
Well, it's probably going to be about a 5-minute pause for this update. So if you're online, just please hang with us.
Apologies.
Back.
All right, apologies again for that interruption to our meeting, but we're back. So we've heard. So we're going to finish with hearing from staff about the project at 3025 North Perry Street. And then we'll move on to hearing from the applicant team.
So where I left off, the proposal on the south side does encroach into the south side yard setback, as you can see here in this image. With that south side yard setback, it also does result in the proposed pop top encroaching into the bulk plane on the south. And then with further discussion with the applicant, some of the roof structure along the north will also encroach into the bulk plane. I initially just thought it was eaves, but it is actually structure, and the applicant has confirmed that with zoning as well, and that will need administrative adjustment as well. Again, staff are supportive of these encroachments as they do create a more compatible form and did result in the applicant having to push the pop top addition back 15 feet from the front facade per our design guidelines. Here is that south elevation. Here is the north elevation, that is interior property lot line. So it will have very limited visibility due to the existing structures. But the final encroachment is with the reconstruction of the rear roof form from a hipped roof to a gable roof. It will encroach into the height limit of the rear 35. Again, staff are supportive of this encroachment as well, as this addition is set back 15 feet and there are limited opportunities to pursue a side or rear addition on this property. And this gable roof does allow the addition to be accommodated towards the rear and set back 15 feet. So as I was mentioning, the addition is clad in wood shingles. Windows are a compatible material with the surrounding historic context and will be inset 2 feet, not 2 feet, 2 inches from the facade, and those are going to be wood windows, and then all the trim on the structure is to be wood as well, and the roofing is asphalt shingle. And then here I just have a section height to show you that the head height is very limited on this proposed addition compared to the center of the structure. So at the ends of the dormers, it's very limited in head height. And then just some perspective showing that proposed addition as you will see it from eye level. So staff are recommending approval of this proposed addition. We do feel that it is compatible with the addition guidelines in terms of a contemporary but compatible material. It is set back 15 feet from the front facade. And we are also recommending approval for the administrative adjustments for the violation of the height in the rear 35, the bulk plane encroachments on both the south and north side, so that the motion here on the screen is updated to encompass that north encroachment, and the south side interior setback encroachment, as we feel that this addition was designed to meet our guidelines in compliance with the Denver zoning code would create an adverse impact on the design of this pop top addition.
Okay, thank you, Brittany. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff? All right, I think we're ready to hear from the applicant, who is with us still virtually. Whenever you're ready, Andrea, you may begin and you'll have up to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. We'll start with the homeowner, I believe.
Yes. Hi. Before we let Andrea go into the technical details, wanted to just pop in quick, introduce ourselves. I'm Andy.
I'm Jen, and we're the owners of 3025 Perry.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to pop in quick. I think you all probably see kind of our intent, what we're going after here, but just want to say we've lived in this West Highland neighborhood for 5 years now. And so now we're kind of recent owners, about a year in this particular home. So intend on it being our home for some years to come. And so thank you to Brittany and to Andrea for working with us now for probably coming on 6 months, trying to develop a plan that really respects this home, respects the character of it, as well as our neighborhood. So I think that's been our intent all along, is to gain a little bit of square footage to kind of support us in all the years ahead, but also respect this road's home as it's known in the years to come. So thank you all, and thank you to the committee for kind of hearing this today. And then over to Andrea to get into the nitty-gritty architectural details.
Awesome, thanks guys. Yeah, so I think Brittany, you summarized the technical stuff very well, and I think I just want to reiterate what Jen and Andy mentioned, is that when they approached me about this project, they, mentioned that they wanted to gain love the neighborhood, love the house, wanted to gain some square footage, and were really, really committed to honoring like the historic character of this house. And I think, in working with Brittany and in working with Landmarks and having their guidance and support, it's actually resulted in like a better project than we could have done on our own, through guidance, and also through some of these reliefs that Landmarks is willing to offer us. The home itself is like a very simple gable form, and then both inside and out, it's a very simple structure, a very simple layout, which we love, and we really wanted to honor that form. And I think that by allowing us to encroach on the side setback and allowing us to get to symmetry in these dormers has really improved the aesthetics of this addition that we're proposing. And the other thing that we there you go. The other thing that we also are like wanted to do and like doing is the fact that the addition is set back from the front facade. And I think when you see the elevations as is, when you see it on like as a flat plane in elevation, it looks like a much more imposing addition than it is, because the reality is that this is on like a pretty steep side. I think there's about like 8 feet of grade change between the sidewalk and the rear elevation. And so the perspective that you get of this addition is actually and also the narrowness of the lot. There's, a house immediately adjacent to it on the north side. So I think like the reality of what the street presence of this house, of the addition is like very limited, which is inherently beneficial for all of us. Yeah, I think that's the most important part of this, is that we wanted to keep this simple, and we wanted to keep the hierarchy with obviously the main house speaking much louder than the dormers in the rear. Yeah, we think that this is like this proposed addition, preserves the past. It maintains street presence while it still, creates a more functional space and a house that Andy and Jen can grow in through the years. And it also still maintains compatibility with the neighborhood. So I'm happy to take any questions after this, but I think that's kind of the gist of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay, I think it's sounds like it's pretty straightforward for us. Any last words, Brittany? Okay, I think we're ready to move into deliberation then. Commissioners, what are your thoughts on this project?
I think it's an effective solution that meets the guidelines.
Thank you, Emily.
Likewise, I'm also glad to see things like real cedar shingles and wood windows, which, not to say that there's a preference, but these are nice to see that high quality of materials.
Yeah, I don't have really any further comment. Nope.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion then, keeping in mind that the staff has an updated motion? Get that back up.
Sorry, it's long.
I move to approve application 2025 COA 347 for the Top Edition at 3025 North Perry Street as per design guidelines 3.1 to 3.11. Character binding features of the Wolf Place Historic District, presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report. I move that the Landmark Preservation Commission find that conforming with the zoning standard for the height in the rear 35%, both plane in the south side and north side of the property, and south side interior setback would have an adverse impact on the historic character of the Wolf Place for the proposed top addition per section 12.4.5.2B of the Denver zoning code for the application number 2025 COA 347 at 3025 North Perry Street.
Thank you, Emily. Do I have a second? Thank you, Rusty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the project has been approved. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
All right, our next design review project is application 2025-COA-304 at 743 North Race Street in the East 7th Avenue District. And we'll hear from Andrew Affey.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Affey, Landmark Preservation staff, 743 North Race Street. So Landmark has been in communication with the applicant team for the past month, providing details about the process for reviewing the proposed roofing materials. Based on a conversation with the applicant team a few minutes ago, there may be a misunderstanding. The team may have some alternatives to propose, which we have not had an opportunity to review. I will be presenting information on the official applicant package, which proposed a concrete material that aims to mimic the look of slate. So 743 Race Street is a single family home constructed circa 1906 and is a contributing structure within the East 7th Avenue Historic District. The applicant is proposing to replace the existing non-historic asphalt shingle roof with a contemporary roofing product, extruded concrete tiles. These tiles are designed to replicate the appearance of slate through various textures and color finishes. Next slide. To understand the likely original roofing material, staff reviewed historical documentation, including the Sanborn fire insurance maps and Denver City and County Assessor's records. The 1929 and 1961 Sanborn maps indicate the property had a non-combustible roofing material, which may suggest the use of fire-resistant products such as composition roofing, clay tile, or asphalt, materials common on homes of that period in the Denver area. A 1949 assessor's record further describes the roof as a wood frame structure covered with asphalt shingles. While we do not have direct evidence of the original material, there is no indication that slate was used. Slate was not a common roofing material in Denver at the time due to its limited local availability. Next slide. The proposed roofing material is an extruded concrete tile designed to mimic slate. This product introduces a new material, concrete, which was not historically used on this structure. Additionally, mimicking slate is not appropriate in this case, as slate is not supported by the historic documentation as the likely original roofing appearance. This home is 1.5 stories tall and the roof is prominently visible from the street, public right-of-way, making the accurate appearance of the roofing material especially important in preserving the historic character of the district. This applicant is also proposing a modified bitumen roofing system for the flat portions of the roof. Staff does not have concerns with that portion. Next slide. Staff recommends denial of the proposed roofing replacement. While we understand that roofing materials must be periodically replaced, the proposed concrete tile, particularly in its attempt to mimic slate, does not meet the design standards of the historic district. Specifically, the project does not comply with design guideline 2.27, which addresses the appropriate use of materials. Staff encourages the applicant to explore other alternatives, including historically appropriate materials or engineered products that better match the likely historic roofing in appearance, texture, and profile.
Thank you, Andrew. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I got a good question. That it appears to me that it looks more like mimicking cedar shake than slate, in my opinion. Or is it?
Yes.
I'm asking him, sorry.
Yeah, staff was a little bit confused on the description, but either way, the fact that it's mimicking something and it's not that material, staff has a problem with that as well, and it's probably more so that it's actually concrete on the roof and it's extruded machine tile.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Andrew. All right, we are ready to hear from the applicants. If you're here in person to speak, you may come up to the table to introduce yourself, or do we have anyone joining us virtually on this project?
Yeah, we got, sorry, I'm Ryan, I'm a contractor, but I also have our production department on Tom, Bill, and Brian up there. Sure, they'd like to say something about all that.
If you just want to come to the table though, in
Yes.
case you want to speak after they do.
The only name I have was Thomas Bukart. What were the other ones?
Bill Talley and it's just Bill and Tom right now, yeah.
Brian's on with me.
Okay, do we have everyone with us now? Okay. So again, you have altogether up to 10 minutes to talk about this project. If you would begin with your name before you begin speaking, that would be helpful. Feel free to start whenever you're ready.
I'm Ryan, I'm a project manager with Interstate Roofing, working directly with the homeowners. That's Tom Bokart, he's our production manager on the screen, and next to him is Brian Hoffman, who is our permitting department. And first question I had was, we were trying to figure out what the original material was on the roof, because currently it's a 3-tab shingle. We had documentation that said it was a wood shake, cedar shake roof. Now, up until that last committee hearing or the voting here, I thought, or I've known that cedar shake is not fire retardant and cannot be used in Denver because of local fire codes. 3-tab shingles also have a wind speed requirement that Denver, that we can't install in Denver. We can't even order it. So Tom, can you back this up, what I'm saying?
Yeah, so there's been a discontinuing 3-tab shingles from a lot of the major manufacturers, and they're slowly becoming non-existent. There's already, just as of recently in the past 2 years, I know of, I believe GAF and Owens Corning have discontinued their production of it. I know that they're for a long time, they did manufacture those types of shingles, but unfortunately they are no longer. Obviously, a dimensional shingle is still being manufactured. Obviously we're proposing to use, a concrete, tile here versus either of those options.
And the wood shake.
Same with wood shake. I mean, of allowing a fire retardant shake, I'm not actually been, in terms of applying for that type of permit, I've not been tasked to do so. So I don't know if that would be something that would be allowable by the city of Denver. But again, in terms of availability, it's also a product that can be tough to get a hold of as well.
So yeah, we're just here with the homeowners. They have the 3-tab on their roof. We don't know when it got installed. We don't think it actually went through the Landmark Society when they did re-roof it, because I don't think the homeowners owned the house at the time. So we're just they were trying to get around something that looked more original, like wood shake. I know Andrew was saying, kept saying slate, but we've always looked at this as a staggered wood shake look, just 3/4 inch concrete tile,
class 4, 50-year roof. So from the street, it would look gorgeous. And it's just, right now there's a 3 tab that we're trying to replace, and the homeowners really want to have something a little better on the roof.
Okay, does that conclude what you'd like to say?
Yeah, and sorry, I brought a couple other options, other samples that mimic the whole wood shake, are also class 4, but I guess we're just talking about bar tile specifically here today, but still it's a fantastic product. It's, every time we put them up, we get a lot of calls from neighbors saying they love it, and it looks like wood shake, but they get pretty shocked when they figure out it's concrete. And we do have an engineer report. Engineer did inspect for putting the concrete roof. He did approve it. Can submit that as well.
So I'd like to add with just one quick thing is that providing a long-term roofing solution to the customer, obviously that impacts, ecologically in terms of, obviously we're all familiar with the amount of roofs that get replaced on a yearly basis, and we will provide a long-term solution for them and likely be, hopefully it's the last roof that they ever have to put on, barring any major disaster.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicants?
Yeah, I know that these are set on purlins, right? Battens, purlins, right? Is that gonna change the profile of the kind of the eaves, breaks?
It would go up 3/4 of an inch because they're just 1x1 battens. But the engineer report, and I absolutely will send that to you guys, just says that we use battens, the counterbatten system, that they have no problem with the weight load on this time.
So you're gonna use you're gonna use battens and counterbattens?
No, I think it's just battens because it's a 10-12 roof. So these fixtures are actually direct to deck. Those went straight to the roof deck.
Right.
But because Rob and Megan have a steep pitch roof, we got to put it on batten. So I read the report a couple weeks ago, and it's the one set of battens going horizontally every foot.
So that's gonna raise it up 3/4 of an inch?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the engineer report talks about, obviously there's gonna be an increase of weight with the concrete tiles, and that takes into account of that
Yes.
engineer report.
It's very detailed.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, so I guess I'm just trying to kind of clear up the confusion between the photos that were submitted, we're looking at here, which do look like wood shake. And then in the application, it says proposed roofing product, bar tile, driftwood blend, legendary slate cottage. Does the slate just mean like the color of it, or is it?
Yeah,
That might be where it was confusing.
Yeah, our bar tile rep, actually, he just changed jobs, so I wasn't able to talk to him about this specifically. But the wood shake, this is all just the split timber. It's like a wood shake, split timber is wood. I don't know where they're getting just I think it's the glaze they put on the concrete, that just mimics the slate. But from the street, it looks, and it's always looked like just wood shake. It's the exact same tile you're seeing here. It's just a higher pitch on Rob Megan's house.
So what is written here of the proposed roofing product is exactly what we're seeing on the
Yes.
screen there, okay. Okay,
It's actually a staggered shake look, is what it called.
And just to clarify, this was kind of the original desire of the homeowner was this look rather than, was asphalt shingles ever?
No, honestly, it wasn't, because then, his neighbors, they have like Spanish clay that just went up behind him. There's some other tile roofs in the neighborhood. I don't know if they're with Landmark, but they've been pretty married to this the last couple months. The more we look into it, it just keeps looking better. So especially on the old historical house like that from the street, there's nothing that's gonna look better. And we're gonna use it with the insurance. Insurance covered the roof, and we're just gonna use that money and then some out of pocket from the homeowner to get them the bar tile roof that they've been wanting. That's the plan.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you very much. I think it looks like you have one more thing to say. You have a little bit of time. If you'd like to make the last comment, then we will move on. Does anyone from the applicant have anything to say?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. The product that's proposed is actually a smooth versus the product in the photos has, you can see like a slight ripple in it. That's supposed to mimic, the ridges from a wood shake tile. If we were to move to an approval, I think in terms of the homeowner, as long as if it's a smooth tile or a tile with the profile as shown in the photo, I think the homeowner would be amenable to either, but I just wanted to make a quick clarifying point.
So that what is in the photo is not actually what's being proposed.
That's correct.
Okay, sorry, I apologize. So the only difference between the two, if you look at that bar tile, that front cover where it says split timber, in that picture is the split timber. I mean, it's the exact same profile, everything else is the same, but the New England slate is, I guess, what was proposed. But, so it's just smoother. You won't see the split timber with the lines going down the middle. So that's maybe where the whole slate and wood shake look is getting confused, but I'm sure if we talk to the homeowners, if you guys like the split timber better than the New England slate look, we can absolutely do that.
Okay. All right, thank you for that clarification.
Erica, may I interrupt a second? I'm
Yes.
sorry. I just want to be clear that the bar tile legendary slate, which is what was proposed, looks very different than this. So I think the applicant has told us two different things. We've responded to the concept that it was a faux slate and said it does not meet the guidelines. Clearly not all on the same page here, and just want to clarify where our review came from.
Yeah, I'm pulling up that slate image right now to show the condition.
Yeah, so that's just not a staggered look. Those are just a straight look. Staggered is the way we install it. So it's just, like we said, the smooth versus the split timber. But those, we can move them, we move them up and down to mimic wood shake. But right there, those are just going horizontally perfect, and that's why it doesn't look the exact same. It's just the install pattern.
Do you have something?
Yeah, if I can just throw in a staff interjection. So the staggered edge of the proposed shingles is also out of character with the type of shingle that might have been on this house. If it ever was wood, and we don't have any documentation that says it would not have been shake, it would have been a cut wood shingle. I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
What is a cut? Do you know what a cut shingle is?
Amy? You wanna
It's very
elaborate?
uniform in look.
Yeah,
It's not
It doesn't have that
staggered.
staggered.
It's more of a clean look with wood.
It's just straight across.
Yeah.
It also doesn't necessarily have as much texture as when it's hand split.
Gotcha.
So then what was proposed of the smooth one would mimic that more than the split timber.
Right, but the issue is that these are all concrete.
Right. And
Okay. So I think
I think staff has presented all of its findings to what we know at this point. So,
and we have the relevant design guidelines in front of us as far as roof materials. Okay, so I think we're now ready to move into deliberation. Thank you to the applicants. Commissioners, what are your thoughts?
I guess my thought right off the bat is that because of, if for no other reason, the fact that the application has, information that conflicts with itself, photos showing something that's shake and the text seems to me the most important thing, suggesting something that would mimic slate, then I think, a denial, just have them go back to the drawing board and figure out something that meets the guidelines, makes sense. So, yeah.
And that's clearly stating what it wants to do.
Yeah. So, and I think as a friendly comment for the applicants, I think making sure that the picture that is included with the application matches what the product that's listed is, because we're not experts at, the roofing industry and know what every product is, just reading the label of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would also like to say that I agree with staff's finding as far as whether it's trying to mimic slate or trying to mimic shake. I think either one is actually not appropriate in meeting the design guidelines in that we don't have evidence of slate being used on this house, and that would be a rare occurrence. But wood shake would also be, I doubt it's wood shake as well. I think it's likely to have been originally a cut wood shingle. So that's just something else to consider. I think our design guidelines, give some pretty simple suggestions on materials that do work. So it's something that the applicant could consider.
Yeah, I mean, I do personally, as being in that roofing industry, like the concrete. It is a long-lasting roof. I know it may conflict with the guidelines per se, but it is a well-used roof that is long-lasting and can be a 50-year warranted. I mean, the material itself is 50-year warranted. The roof itself is not 50 years, but the material is. So I mean, I like it, and I wonder if this commission, if they came back with the right stuff, if they would consider that, or if it's just strictly what the guidelines are spelling out as far as to mimic whatever was there before.
If I could jump in, I mean, the guideline 2.27B does state that engineered / synthetic roofing products that match the historic appearance of wood shingles are allowable. And so if the applicant were to present something that matched that appearance, I think that could be amenable to.
We have approved different materials. The concrete is really hard because it's such a thick profile that we've struggled with approving it for replacement of wood shingles. And also, like, the problem is most of them are the staggered shake, which is not what we really had here in Denver.
Right.
Emily.
May I elaborate on reading the guideline? It says that what Larry quoted is appropriate when the roof is not sleepily pitched or otherwise readily visible from the public view. So that's when the engineered product in the guidelines is allowed.
So synthetic is more like a plastic, like a Da Vinci.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So a plastic, in my opinion, I'm going outside the guidelines here and just having a discussion amongst us. A plastic Da Vinci tile, in my opinion, is quite a bit uglier than a concrete, something that's, it looks a little bit better, in my opinion. But I'm just having a conversation about it. I'm not, putting a piece of plastic on your roof is pretty ugly for historic residents, in my opinion.
I mean, I guess I'll raise the question of, to me, it's not clear that synthetic necessarily means plastic. Just because there are, terracotta in some ways is considered synthetic because it's a material that's been combined and shaped and made, not from just pulled from the ground or sort of thing. So
Terracotta is clay.
Doesn't hold up with hail.
anyways, my point is that I don't know that synthetic is necessarily specifying plastic.
And I will say the reason why the guideline is very specific about the pitch of a roof is because Abby did a very extensive study on replacement materials. And when roofs had replacement materials, and we found that they were very noticeable on steeply pitched one-story structures, that they were different from the historic materials.
Yeah, well, and I think ultimately, while I agree with you, Chris, that there are some, non-original materials that look better and look more realistic than others. I think ultimately the main thing that the guideline is driving at is to not change the character of a character defining roof feature, so that if there's no evidence that it was originally, something with a lot of characters, such as a slate tile or a shake or something like that, if it was a more sort of prosaic cut shingle wood roof, then we're not encouraging applicants to create a false sense of history. I think that's the more critical thing than
I just
what
think
the
we're gonna
roof
run into
is.
this a lot, coming up, with especially since cedar shakes are not gonna be allowed anymore, right? So homeowners are gonna wanna know what can I do to replace it that's gonna look good, mimic, that historic fabric as you're, alluding to, Larry. But, also be a long lasting roof.
May I, again, the guidelines are still clear on that, 2.27A, which says that if there's evidence of similar property, then there's more allowance. If there is evidence of that on that roof, that, from historical data.
I will say too that, we've seen a lot of roof replacement projects that, are aiming to kind of create maybe more character than asphalt, and sometimes that's appropriate, and sometimes not, depending on the evidence of a particular house and what it had, but also the particular product that's being suggested. So I don't think this is a new issue. It's just that this particular project is maybe trying to marry one particular product to this particular house that doesn't seem to meet the guidelines, as well as just the basic confusion about what is actually being proposed. I think that's something that also needs to be clarified before we could approve something. Would anyone like to make a motion?
And I just want to remind everyone, since there's only 5 of you here
Yes.
today, that to successfully pass a motion, everyone needs to vote collectively.
Yes, thank you.
I move to deny application 2025 COA 304 for the roof replacement of 743 North Ray Street as per design guideline 2.27, character defining features of the East 7th Avenue Historic District, presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
Thank you, Emily. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the motion carries. And the application has been denied. Hopefully you can work with Landmark staff to pursue something else to bring before us. All right, we'll move on to our last design review project for today, which is number application 2025-COA-352 at 3044 Champa Street in the Curtis Park G Historic District. We will hear from Crystal for staff review and recommendation.
Okay, so this application is for a phase 2 infill application for 3044 Champa Street. The phase 1 application was previously approved at the commission in October of 2023. The applicant is proposing to construct a new single-family residence with a garage ADU on an existing vacant lot in the Curtis Park Historic District. Here you can see a rendering of the new structure on the left and the location of the site on the right, just across the street from Mestizo Curtis Park. Next slide. So here you can see the site plan for it. Development along this block of Champa Street will have a consistent setback of 20 feet as shown on the site plan, Both 3052 and 3042 Champa Street on either side of this property have that same 20-foot setback as well. That's already been approved by the commission. And then here you can see that front porch area and the space between the house and the detached garage. Next slide. So here on the left is the front facade of the structure. The building form a combination of gable front and flat roof are forms that are commonly found in the district. As you can see here, the house will be clad mostly in standard size brick with grouped windows at the first and second floor. The front gable will have a vertically oriented zigzag brick design, and the porch will have a flat roof clad in black break metal with masonry porch simplets. At the rear elevation on the right side here, you can see the bifold doors at the first floor. And at the top of the structure is a third floor office flex space that opens to the roof deck on the flat portion of the structure. The third floor roof space is set back approximately 15 feet from the street and will be clad in a smooth vertical hardy panel siding only at that small part of the structure. The roof deck will have a parapet wall surround to help hide it from view. Next slide. Here are the two side elevations of the primary structure. At the southwest elevation at the top left, you can see a flat roof side of the structure with the brick header course at the top. The third floor will have double sliding doors. The sliding doors will not be visible from the street. Windows will all have brick headers and sills. And at the back of the structure is a metal trellis just above the first floor. And then at the bottom right here, you can see that other side elevation. The main roof will be clad in standing seam metal. And here you can see the chimney with metal chimney cap. Next slide. And then this is for the ADU. Here's the front and rear elevations. It's a 2-story flat roof garage ADU. It's a simple brick structure to match the primary structure, and some of the windows will have atypical proportions, but these will not be visible from the street. And then here are the side elevations of the garage ADU structure. You can see the brick header course again at that second floor, and the windows having those brick headers and sills to match the house. Next slide. So here are the materials of the proposed structures. On the left is that front gable vertical brick design and the details for that and how it will be built. The brick gable design adds visual interest to the structure and helps identify it as new infill. The materials for the structure use a red-orange brick, as you can see here, and a standing seam metal roof. Both are commonly found in the district. They also have the lighting here as well as patio and wood specifications. The wood is for the soffits under the wall, like that. Next slide. So here's a view showing the front of the house and the porch on the left and aerial views on the right. The front porch is supported by a simple rectangular masonry columns, and a low masonry wall is proposed at that front porch to be capped by a cast stone. Though it was unclear what color or what stone, as that material was missing from the application. I did ask the applicant after the staff report was written, and they said they would be doing a red cast stone. So the detail will need to be added to the application. Next slide. And here are just some street perspectives of that front facade. Next slide. And then finally, some color renderings that they've also included showing that front porch. Next slide. So staff is recommending approval. I guess that didn't get in there. Sorry. I might have accidentally deleted it. Sorry, there was some mess up on the
It should be
slideshow.
in your staff report. Staff did just notice, like I said during the application, that the cast stone material was missing. Also, I noticed on the elevations, the sills weren't consistently drawn, or it looked like they had moved. Maybe it was like an issue or error. So I would suggest two conditions with the approval. One, just to add specifications to the plan for that red cast stone cap at the front porch. And two, to correct elevations to show all lintels and sills consistently on all windows. That's it.
Thank you for
Crystal. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff? I think we're ready to hear from the applicant, who I'm assuming is with us virtually. Once you are ready to speak, if you would please begin with your name, and then you'll have up to 10 minutes to present your project. Carlos, are you with us? Carlos, if you can hear us, we can't hear you, so.
All right, so I just introduced myself to myself.
All right.
All right, I got it. So Carlos Alvarez from Alvarez Morris, 121 Adams Street, Denver, Colorado, 80206. I am not used to being recommended an approval, so I'm a little bit speechless. So, but and it's been a while since we looked at this project, but looking at it, more than anything, I'm just happy to answer some questions, and we'll add those details that you mentioned on the window sills and on the cap. But I guess all I could say is, like, on this particular project, we battled numerous times to get those two different styles approved. And then once we got that, we chose to stay fairly true with some of the historic materials and details. So the only thing under the gable that we chose to do there is just, like, again, a hint of like the Victorian detailing in a different way, just to generate interest there. But other than that, it's, like I said, it's using brick materials that are very common in the area. And that's pretty much that. And I'd be happy to answer some questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Got just one question. The renderings, actually the ones that we're looking at on the screen right now, show a wood soffit under the gable roof, but the specifications and the wall sections say painted material. Is that going to be painted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that I would, by looking at the drawing right now, even if we said it was not painted, now I'm saying it is painted.
Great.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Crystal, do you have any further things to say? Okay. Commissioners, what did you all think?
It's a good looking house. That's all I have.
Yeah, it is. Nice proposal.
I do, it'll be great to see the gable brick constructed. Pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
It being a standard that we.
Yeah, no, having been here, I think maybe some of the other commissioners weren't here during the previous rounds of this. And so, yeah, we appreciate the patience, but I think it's made for a good project, and I think this meets the guidelines.
Much better said. Would someone like to make a motion, considering our conditions that Crystal has recommended as well?
And I think I captured them all.
Okay,
But if I got them wrong.
Crystal, take a look and let us know if that looks good. Okay, would someone like to make a motion? But it is not a recommendation for denial as the title says, or
Sorry.
that's okay. It's, yep, no, I think it's otherwise very clear. Just wanted to make sure that. Okay.
I'll give it a shot. Madam Chair, I move to additionally approve application number 2025-COA-352 for the Phase 2 design details of the proposed infill structure at 3044 Champa Street as per presented testimony, submitted documentation, guidelines 4.3, 4.5, 4.7, 4.8, 4.16, 4.17, 4.19, and the Curtis Park character defining features. Presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report with the following conditions. Number one, show the red cast stone detail for the porch, and two, correctly show lintels and sills on all elevations.
Thank you, Larry. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Rusty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, so the motion carries and the project has been conditionally approved. Next on our agenda, we have a discussion item. We did hear from public at our public comment period about this, but I think we'll be hearing from Brittany about 1600 and 1618 East Colfax Avenue.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up as a notice for unsafe structure letter was issued for these structures collectively. So what that essentially means is that the building official has determined that these are unsafe and can be demolished. As you are aware, the commission did review these through the economic hardship process and did approve the economic hardship. That essentially also states that the commission is comfortable with the demolition. However, our ordinance does require a replacement structure prior to demolition. And we have not yet reviewed nor approved a replacement structure for these structures. So just a little bit of history on these structures. 1600 Colfax, which is the one on the corner, did actually catch fire. And following that fire in March of 2023, I believe, the building official did also issue an unsafe structure letter at that time. However, we went through the landmark ordinance required process for demolition of contributing structures in a historic district. So the commission did hold a demolition public hearing for these structures, did deny that request for demolition, and then appealed through the economic hardship process. So that was in December of last year, and that economic hardship was approved for both of these structures. So as you can see, they're in a fairly deteriorated state, and landmark staff were concerned that they were a safety hazard for the community. And the building official has made that official determination that they could potentially be a safety hazard to the public, which does allow them to be demolished without that approval of the replacement structure. So this is the primary reason why this letter was issued, is because they are a safety hazard to the public. Our ordinance says specifically that they have to be imminently dangerous, and the building official has made that classification. So staff do feel that this is the best outcome for these structures at this point, because they have been approved through the economic hardship by the commission for demolition. They did go through the proper processes for the review of that demolition and economic hardship. And now we just have these severely deteriorated structures that could potentially pose safety risks for the community. So that is the update on those. The structures do have to be demolished by the end of the summer. So the property owners are hopeful to pull the demolition permit by the end of June. So here in the city and county of Denver, you have to go through an asbestos abatement with the state, which is the longest part of the process. Forestry also reviews it, and then you do neighborhood notification as well. And then they should be demolished by the end of August. So that is the tentative timeline for this project at this point. Happy to take questions.
And we will see the proposed replacement structures at some point.
They have been working on replacement structures. Jen and I have had a few pre-application meetings with them. It's varied based on what the economic hardship outcome would be. So this was all a couple of months ago. We haven't seen anything since the economic hardship, but any new structure here on this site we would have to review and approve.
we saw, if I remember correctly, we saw some proposed structures in.
Southwest.
Yeah.
That was just very basic massing.
Yeah. I was just,
I think the bigger question for the applicant, not to speak for them, is they're trying to figure out if they want to acquire the Burger King property, which you can like vaguely see in this image over here, which isn't actually in the district. And I think that's kind of been slowing down, like what they want to exactly do with this site, if they can acquire that property as well and make it one big development. But that's, again, me speaking for them and our conversations many months ago.
are they gonna have to, when we review this, are we gonna have to like, for form, whatever, is there's, these buildings that are here now before they get demoed, is there, are they gonna have to kind of follow that kind of style in any way, or?
So they don't have to follow this specific style. They do need to be contextual to the surrounding Lyman Historic District. There are, this is zoned for CMX 8, but in the historic district, the buildings that are within the period of significance are not that tall. So it'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Great, thank you, Brittany. I think that concludes our agenda for today, so I will close the meeting at 2:29. Thank you.